did.
What? That's weird. I don't know why that happened. I missed your question. Say that again, Seth.
I said, if he davened, like Rashi said, to have to move the Ruach, that Yaakov should have the Ruach HaKodesh to come back to reality to give this bracha, you would think after he saw that he did, that he wouldn't have corrected him and said, this isn't.
Oh, you mean he knows he has Ruach HaKodesh, right?
It just seems like, why is he challenging it if the whole thing was to give him the Ruach HaKodesh? It doesn't seem like it needs to be even said.
Very nice point. Yeah, like why is he challenging the father? It's like a whole Hasidic tale. Like, why are you doing this strange thing? And he goes, yes, I know. Well, look what Rashi says. That the son, the Yadati, even Yadati, I know Shehu Bechor, I know he's the firstborn. We're chapter 48, verse 19, my dear friend Aryeh. And we know that he's going to become a nation and he'll be great. Shatid Gidon, let's say, Gidon, who was a judge, will come out from him. God's going to do miracles through Gidon. But Ephraim, Shatid Yoshua, let's say, Joshua was going to come forth from Ephraim. And he will inherit the land and teach Torah to Israel. I always had whenever from the moment I heard this, I always had a big problem with this. Who am I to have a problem? The problem is not with the verse, the problem is with me. But I always didn't really fully understand this Rashi. So Ephraim's greatness is only because of Joshua coming from him, and Menashe's greatness is only because of Gidon. What about they themselves? Why do you say like many generations later, Joshua, many generations later, Gidon? It seems a little strange. So
yeah, but if you're talking about having your heavenly father, then the product of what your success is not you, it's your generations.
Yeah, I mean it's maybe, but then what about the fact that Ephraim ends up worshiping idolatry, the tribe of Ephraim? Like you judge the whole thing on the basis of one person? So it just seemed to me a little bit strange.
The current Samaritans believe that they stand from Ephraim.
Well, that's because that was the territory of Ephraim. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
Why does it use Yadati in the past? We consider past tense.
And why? Very good question. And why does it say Yadati twice?
Yeah.
So Rashi tells us Yadati. I know that he's the firstborn, and I also know that he will become a great nation. Meaning to say, I know two things. He knows that he's the firstborn, and I know that he will become a great nation. But the second Yadati is not saying I know that he's a firstborn anymore. He's saying, the second Yadati is saying he knows that he's the firstborn. So what's the first one? Okay, it's a little bit strange. The verse, why does it say Yadati twice? Seems like it's a passionate speech. Like
he says he knows both about. He says Yadati, he knows the story of. He's aware of the problem of Reuben and Bilhah. He's also aware, and also Yehuda and Tamar.
He knows about.
He says he knows why the rankings are switching around so fluidly here.
I know all the facts.
I know all the facts,
Very
and
nice.
I know why I'm rearranging the orders.
Very nice, very nice, very nice. Okay, so then very nice. So now the next, the whole world will be filled. When his name goes forth. The whole world will hear about Joseph. According to this logic, he should have made Levi the firstborn because Moshe Rabbeinu was the greatest person ever, right? That's a difficulty we have with the Rashi.
I think he's saying they're both great. I don't think he's diminishing one or the other. They're
Right.
both great, and just one is going to be greater. He had to know the Ruach HaKodesh to know that he was greater. And I don't think it was a judgment like the first switching of the hand. hands. I think it was just on what it was.
But he does say straight out in the verse,
He will be great.
yes, it says the younger one will be greater.
Yeah, but they're both great.
They're both great. They're clearly both great. He says that.
Right, I don't think it's a diminished.
But what I'm asking is, if the greatness of Ephraim is because of Joshua, and that's why Ephraim is placed first, then the tribe of Levi should be blessed the most because they have Moshe.
Yeah, but Levi had all sorts of other baggage.
Right.
So does Ephraim.
Nobody's saying Levi, the person himself, had the baggage that he killed the
So this is about equity, not equality.
meaning what? What does that
Meaning
mean?
the outcomes are the same. They're both great,
No, it's not. One's greater.
but they're both great.
Yeah, but one gets first. Eh,
So, yeah, not equity.
What's the difference between equity and equality?
It's a long conversation.
Yeah.
Opportunity versus outcomes.
So equality means you have an opportunity and equity means,
Means your outcomes have to be the same.
so they have equality, but they don't have equity. Well, but actually they don't even have equality. They have equal opportunity, but one gets a blessing before the other one. He comes first, gets more honor. But as we said yesterday, this is the first time in the Torah that we have two siblings who get along, and that's why when we bless our children, we give them this bracha, may it should be, that's coming up here. May it be like Ephraim and Menashe. Mayomer Yisrael Yosef, and Israel says to Joseph, Hinei anochi meit. I'm sorry, Reb Shmuel, yes.
In a way, that is equity. When we make the bracha today.
We put them both there.
like,
Yeah,
That's
so
interesting.
that we bless,
Here is not in the bracha itself seems to be.
that they're both included.
equity.
But they spend a lot of time saying, why is Ephraim go before Menashe in the blessing? If Menashe, like some people get upset. I never know when you send out a thank you note or an invitation, you're supposed to put the man's name first or the woman's.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know anybody that doesn't bless their kids in order of age.
I don't. I bless them wherever they come to me. I say, okay, blessing time.
I think most people do it in order of age.
Could be.
I didn't order me.
I just do whoever comes first.
That's nice. It's random.
Yeah, I just do it like whoever comes close. Yeah, I'm here, I'm lying down, I'm sitting down. Whoever comes to me first for the bracha is gonna get it. And then they come. I never.
This way,
I don't think I ever did an age order,
it's
right?
always first at some point, because they all come in, if they come at different times. One's first.
There's no order to it. But
Doesn't matter.
We do age order, but then we had the situation of Laura came into the family and she's older than Aaron.
now all of YouTube knows that she's older. Yeah, so what do you do then?
He goes first.
Okay, nice. Okay, very interesting. Vayomer, okay, so Vayivarchem Hayom Ahu Lemor. And this is, and he gives them the blessing on that day saying, okay, this is the blessing. Now we're talking about, B'cha yivarech Yisrael Lemor. Through you, Israel should be blessed, saying, Yisimcha Elohim ke'Ephraim u'Menashe. May Israel be blessed for you, like Ephraim and Menashe. Vayosem et Ephraim ufnei Menashe. And he placed Ephraim before Menashe. Like we're supposed to care. Okay, that he puts Ephraim. That's a big deal. The verse, like we already know it. It's the text is emphasizing it. The text is emphasizing Ephraim. In case you couldn't figure it out, the text is emphasizing that he puts Ephraim before Menashe. And Rashi tells us straight out, somebody comes to bless his children, they give them this bracha. Vayomer Ishlav no, and a man should say to his son, Yisimcha Elohim ke'Ephraim u'Menashe. You should may be like Ephraim and Menashe. Vayosem es Ephraim b'birchato ufnei Menashe. V'akdimo b'degalim u'b'chanukat hanesiyim. And it's not just in the blessing, Rashi says, he put him forward in the blessing before Menashe to make him go first B'degalim, in the carrying of the banners, that Menashe camped under the degel of Ephraim, and also in the dedication of the altars, that Ephraim goes first. Ephraim always goes first. Ephraim represents, in Rashi at least, Torah study. You see that Rashi was having a chavrusa, says Yaakov was having a chavrusa Torah study with Ephraim. Menashe represents, in Rashi at least, in rabbinic literature, the person who was, so to speak, in the halls of government, in the White House. Rashi says that Menashe was there as the interlocutor between Joseph and his brothers. He was the translator. So Menashe represents the success story of the person who grows up in, let's say, America, and he goes to Harvard and then works as the White House chief of everything, right? That's Menashe. Ephraim is the one who represents Torah study. Now, Menashe is very important and Ephraim is very important, but Rashi's telling us that the Torah says that he puts Ephraim before Menashe, that the primary value, as important as everything is, and everybody has to do what they're created to do, and everybody should give a bracha that they find your path. But when it comes to community values and who we choose to honor, we should honor the Torah before the secular success. That's what Rashi is saying. So, I mean, that's not necessarily what we do, but that's what Rashi is saying what we should do. What?
It's very clever associating Ephraim with Torah study, which comes first, and it's into the.
It's a Rashi.
Mindset.
It's all from
So
Rashi,
it
yeah.
becomes a very solid formula that can't be superseded. You can't say, I mean, you might intellectually, well, I want to say Menashe. You wouldn't dare, would you dare?
To do what?
Put Menashe first.
No, we're
Yeah,
supposed to.
you said
Rashi
before,
says
you said
specifically,
before.
Ephraim has to come first, Rashi
Be
says.
Very honest about it. I'll put Menashe. You can't do that. You can't, right?
Yeah, no, you can't. You're right, Meyer. You're right.
Is this the first time the word Israel is used to refer to people, the future people of Israel, as opposed to Yaakov?
That's a very good question. Is this the first time the Jewish people, Yisrael more? That's geschmack. I don't know. It sounds right to me, but I don't know. It sounds right. Jeff's point is this the first time Israel refers to the nation of Israel? It's a very, very, very good point. I do want to say, I don't know the answer, but it sounds right. But also, how do we bless our daughters? We bless our daughters, but this is what Rashi says, you bless your sons. How do you bless your daughters? So there, it's the what? So what? Yeah, Rachel takes precedence before Leah, and why there you're blessing by the matriarchs, but you're not blessing by siblings. So
I found very little, I looked into this for my daughter's bat mitzvahs, and there's very little written about how this women's version of the prayer has come up. And I'd be very, very curious if anybody, Rabbi Yosef or anybody knows about it, I'd be very curious.
So I would suggest that it probably is based upon, if we have the book of Ruth, in the end of Ruth, the Seth, if you're able to bring a Tanakh from there, the book of Ruth, in the 4th chapter, it says, oh, you know what, he can pull it up. So, he can pull it up. Rabbi Yosef can pull it up. In the 4th chapter of the book of Ruth, she refers to, look it up at the end of the book of Ruth, right there in one of those verses. Say it again, say the whole verse. Right. So he says, let Hashem give your daughters to be like Rachel and Leah. So that's
Verse 11.
That's like the closest to it. But here too, why is Rachel placed before Leah? So there the commentaries say it's because Rachel gave Leah in the Midrash, she gave her the secret code that Yaakov had given her to say that he was marrying her so that she wouldn't be embarrassed and marry and Leah wouldn't be embarrassed. So because she sacrificed herself, she goes first. But the only thing that sometimes I hear people do, I don't like the verse says, people say, but first, before that, we often say the blessings. Yivarecha Hashem v'yishmerecha Yair Hashem panav elecha v'chuneka Yisrael Hashem panav elecha v'yiseimucha shalom. Now, don't say anything now, because I don't want to embarrass anybody, God forbid. And I apologize if I'm embarrassing you, but some people say, well, they don't want to say this to their daughters because they're saying it because their daughter is a daughter, and the verse is in the masculine. So they want to say the verse in the they feminize it. But I don't think that that's correct, because we shouldn't change a verse from the Torah. The verse is said in the plural to the Jewish people, and like when the Kohanim go up there, when the Kohanim say the bracha to us, they don't say Yivarechechem. They say it, it's to the Jewish people. They're not changing it and pluralizing it. So I think we should be very, very careful changing a verse from the Torah when that verse is so powerful mystically that the rabbis teach that when the Kohen recites the bracha, we believe that divine presence is being channeled through the Kohen when he recites it. So when a parent blesses their child, they're holding on for dear life to the blessing, this powerful, powerful blessing. So if you're doing what you're doing, I don't want to get in your way, but what I'm saying is, I would, if somebody's never done this before, I would strongly encourage you not to change the verses of the Torah, to just keep the verses. God knew what God was doing when God gave us the Torah like that. And that the priestly blessing is Yivrecha Hashem v'yishmerecha. So that's this phrase, this very powerful blessing of children. Not everybody has the custom to give this blessing. I didn't typically get it growing up. But Vayomer Yisrael Yosef, and Israel says to Joseph, Hinei anochi meis. He says, behold, I'm going to die. God should be with you, and God should bring you back to the land of your fathers. Verse 22, and it states, Vani natati lecha, and I will give to you Shchem echad alachacha. Shchem echad is usually translated as one portion above your brothers. Asher lakachti miyad ha'amori b'charbi v'kashti. That I took from the Amorites with my sword and with my bow. So now Jacob is taking credit. He's giving Joseph Shchem, which we know from our reading of Genesis chapter 37 was not done by Jacob, it was done by Shimon and Levi. So let's see what Rashi does. Vanina tati lecha, I will give to you. He says, because you, Joseph, are getting involved in my burial, I will also give to you a heritage, a heritage which you will be buried. Where are you going to be buried? Joseph is buried in Shechem, as it says, they took up Joseph's bones and they buried them in Shechem. Kever Yosef is in Shechem. My friend, when I lived in Riverdale, there was a member of our community. Her father was murdered. Rabbi Hill Lieberman was murdered trying to protect the tomb of Joseph. I don't know if any of you remember that. When there was a riot and the tomb of Joseph was being desecrated, and he went down to try to protect it, and he was murdered. A horrible. He was a rabbi at Yeshiva University. He was a professor, and then he went to. Anyway, terrible. We can't learn about Shem without remembering his name, Rabbi Hillel Lieberman, of blessed memory. Shem echad alachacha, one portion. Rashi says Shem mamash, meaning to say, I'm giving you actually Shem. It will be yours. Joseph, you're going to get an extra portion. I took it with my sword and my bow. Rashi says, when Shimon and Levi killed the people of Shem, everybody gathered around them to fight with them. And Jacob fought against them. So this Rashi is introducing us to a story that's not in the Bible. That Jacob actually defeated the people after Shimon and Levi. This is like the sequel. After Shimon and Levi defeated Shem, everybody came to attack Jacob, and Jacob defeated them. Just want to Rashi, next Rashi, Shem echad davar acher. This refers to Shem echad hiya bechora. This refers to the firstborn. Sheyitlu vanav shnei chalachim, that Joseph's sons got two portions. Shechem means a chelak, a portion. And we'll skip the rest of that Rashi. Rashi says he took him miyad Esav from Esav, she'asa ma'isa Amori, who acted like an Amorite. How? That he, well, you have to look above. And Davar acher shayatzal aviv be'imrei piv. Esav is called an Amorite because he tricked his father with his words. And what is my sword and my bow? What's the ultimate protection? Chachmati utfilati, my wisdom and my prayer. Just want to say before we adjourn for